Tribe of Names, welcome back to the channel, and today we're asking, how do you get ready for a live performance? Let's talk about that, shall we? Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Simon Godfrey and I'm a professional musician who has spent the past 30 to 35 years working in and sometimes around the recording music industry. On this channel we provide tips and tricks for the creative songwriter and musician in you. So after a year of lockdowns and social distancing, the first green shoots of vaccines are starting to poke through the snow and the muck of winter. And musicians like myself, and I dare say probably people like you out there as well, are starting to maybe contemplate the idea of returning at some point in the future to the live scene. But of course, after such a long time away, we maybe might have forgotten exactly how it is that you actually put a live show together. So in this video series that we're going to be doing over the next few weeks, we're going to be looking at the various aspects of what it takes to put on a live performance. Everything from gig preparation to stage fright to gear usage to basically everything else in between. And what we're going to try and do is incorporate all views, certainly in our band, of what it takes for drummers, bass players, singers and the like to get ready to play a live show. And if you've never played a live show before, hopefully some of this might be of use for you, or maybe if you're just returning to it after a few years, it could be useful. So first out the gate, we're going to be hearing from Tribe of Names guitarist Carl Eisenhart and how to prepare and rehearse for a show and how that changes depending on the kind of band that he's playing with at the time. Take it away, Carl.
Performing for me over the last few years has taken on kind of a different turn because I'm now playing in 3 different bands. I play in a cover band called Red. We're an acoustic group. We've been playing since 1997. So we really know the drill, and I know 100% that I can count on the violin player to deliver every time. We have an incredible amount of confidence. We have an incredible amount of fun when we play, but we're pretty loose. We have been known to just try out songs on gigs, say, I kind of know how that goes, and just roll into it. And we've done fairly well doing that. We've had some train wrecks. From that, I've learned that the audience, as long as you're good-natured about something, will be very forgiving of things like that, as long as you don't make too much of a habit of it. They feel like they're in on a joke, and they kind of appreciate it sometimes. Another band that I play in is called Pinnacle, and that's sort of my original project. There are 4 of us, but I do 85% of the writing for that band. Music for that band is quite difficult, so I have to go into any performing situation for that band very, very well prepared, because I hate that feeling of walking out knowing that I may or may not be able to get through the song in a way that I'd be proud of. The other thing with that band is that I'm more or less in charge of it, as far as I end up taking care of a lot of sort of behind the scenes technical things. So that does change how I approach gigs. It's a much more serious thing, because I have to make sure all of the fires are put out, because the buck stops here in that band. Now that I've joined Tribe of Names, now I'm playing somebody else's material for the first time, really. The last thing I want to do is mess that up on stage. So when Tribe of Names hits the stage, or the 2 Valdez gigs that I've played, I am really prepared. Wow, am I prepared. By the time I get out onto the stage for those gigs, I can play the songs in my sleep, just because I don't want to mess somebody else's song up. That would be devastating to me. So that's not to say it's not going to happen, but so far I've been pretty lucky.
Well, thanks very much for your thoughts, Carl. You've raised some very important points there, not least amongst them, which is preparing before you perform. If you rehearse and put in the time before you get up on that stage and let your fingers do the playing, you can then enjoy the gig a little bit more, because your brain is not having to think about the next thing that's coming up. And next up we have Tom Hyatt, who has had many, many years performing on stage, talking about an element which not many people mention, and that's preparing your body physically for the performance that you've got ahead of you. Take it away, Tom.
Based on a lot of experience, since about 1994, I've always prepared for a gig first thing in the morning by making sure that my stomach is ready for everything. This is because of a particular incident. I highly recommend making sure you have a good breakfast, a good safe meal, a non-triggering meal. Once I get to the gig, one of my main things I do is just sort of practice the most difficult bass line. As of late, it's been the June jar. That's the line that's always been dogging me. So I practice that while I'm getting ready. And then there's my normal ritual is 2 beers before I go on and then 1 beer to sip while I'm on stage.
Thank you, Tom, and he's absolutely right when it comes to looking after yourself both nutritionally and physically when you're out playing shows, especially when you're doing shows back to back like small tours or even national tours. It's so easy to fall into that fast food frenzy and basically make a wreck out of yourself within weeks. I've done it, many other musicians out there have done it as well. It's not pleasant. And finally, we come to Scott Miller, our drummer, who talks about the importance of enjoying yourself while you're up on stage. It's so easy to get caught up in all of the things that you have to do to prepare for a show.
I really tried to just have a good time while performing and enjoy myself. For me, personally speaking, performing is a reward for all of the time spent writing and learning, rehearsing music. So I try to enjoy it as much as possible and be as prepared as possible so I can be in the moment and share that moment with my bandmates, with the people in the crowd watching. Before performing, I try to stretch a little bit and be as loose as possible so that I'm not stuck, feeling rigid and janky, to try to be fluid. Feels good. So if, you're feeling good, you're playing good, everything kind of snowballs into like this energy of goodness. Some things I try to do before a show is to plan a practice pad to warm up my hands. If I don't have a practice pad, if I don't have the time before playing, I at least, at the bare minimum, have my sticks in my pocket. They're within arm's reach all the time. So I'll pull them out, and while I'm talking to somebody, turn them around in my hands, and play against my forearms. Kind of looks like a praying mantis. And it looks goofy, but it's something, to get the hands warmed up so I'm not going up and playing cold. When you only get time to play 6 or 7 songs sometimes, you don't want to be warming up for the first 2 or 3 songs. You're not being as entertaining as you could be, when you're spending that time warming up. Some other things that I try to do during a performance is to make eye contact with as many people in the crowd as I can, to project that eye contact and project myself and emotions, and to as far back in the room that I can, because it's infectious. And if you're sending that energy far out into the room, everybody in front of that is going to be able to pick that up, and it helps everybody enjoy the show a little bit more. When I know I have a better show when I'm in a good mood, when I'm feeling good and enjoying the moment, and enjoying that time, and the band does, and it, it's infectious, it's contagious, and it helps, to make for a better show, I think.
Thank you very much, Scott, for that important insight. You have to have fun above everything when you're up on stage. That's the whole point of doing this. And as Scott did say, if you're having fun, that fun is infectious. It will filter out into the audience. And if you and the audience are having a good time, that's got to be a great evening. So then, to sum up, as Carl said, prepare before you play. It'll make you a lot more relaxed as you get on stage and get ready to play. As Tom said, Look after yourself, both physically and nutritionally, because this is all you have when you get up on stage to do your stuff. And lastly, as Scott said, have fun. That fun will transmit itself out into the audience, and when everybody's happy, you've got a great gig happening. Performing live is its own education, and the more you do it, the more you'll be able to refine your craft and make your evening and the audience evening that much better. So all that remains to be said is consider subscribing if you like what you saw on this channel. We'll be back with more content very soon. So, Tribe of Names, have a good week. Goodbye.